Thank you, Madam Chair. Having worked in the private sector in IT for 20 plus years, I've seen it all. I've seen a lot, and I've seen a lot of waste. And I can only imagine how wasteful the federal government is when it comes to software contracting. Mrs. Kent, the Department of Housing and Urban Development moved from a legacy common business-oriented language application to a more modern code base with tools that are available 6 years ago. That process took multiple years and cost over $5 million. You stated that that effort, if it were to be done today, it would take months versus years with a tenth of the price tag. Can you elaborate on that?
Certainly. When we started that project, and it was a project under the Technology Modernization Fund, the agency was using the code assistance or code translation tools that were available at the time. And what they were doing was actually testing the accuracy of the ability to go from 11 million lines of code, which was the set of applications, to more modern, which, by the way, they got it to 3 million. But the tools at that point in time only had about a 75–80% accuracy, which meant somebody actually had to go in and translate, hands on keyboard, do the rest of that work. The tools, and then my written testimony had some examples, the tools that are available now, the code assistance tools, are operating at a 97 and 98% accuracy in many cases. They are also significantly less expensive. So as time has passed, those tools have become less expensive. So I use that as an example. The work at the time was important, it was groundbreaking, and it was a step forward for HUD. But as we think about other agencies who haven't taken those steps forward now, the complexity, the risk, the time, and what it will cost us will be significantly less.
Well, working in the healthcare system in IT and IT procurement, we would often have vendors that would go to the different agencies, and we would have situations on occasion that would pop up where one department wasn't talking to another department. And the vendors love this because they get to sell an organization both products, right? Two completely different products from different companies for the same solution, all being very wasteful. Is that something that occurs regularly within the federal government?
Unfortunately, it does. I think that's why some of the efforts for visibility, clarity, and the discussions with many of the vendors, looking at, as Ms. Rote pointed out, the government as an enterprise as a whole. There were efforts that I took on as federal CIO to actually bring that visibility across government and clarity to what agencies were buying, and more importantly, what they're using. And that is an effort that needs to continue. And I think we have seen members of Congress actually put forth some legislation to help and to make that something that agencies are held accountable for, but also in changing the dialogue with many of the vendors that serve the government, making sure that we are looking at taking that enterprise view.
Yeah, one of the axioms when you're in that world is that the more that the client wants to customize and not change their processes, the more expensive and the longer it's going to take. Do you have, I'm thinking of the VA, the implementation of the electronic medical record of the VA. From what I'm told, it was required that they have a completely new site, a customized site for every location in the VA. Do you have any insights on that? Or Mrs. Rote, I don't know if you have any insights. Or my question is, who is minding the farm when it comes to, or kind of wrangling these agencies in? Because it's just a common desire to want to force the code to adopt to your processes as opposed to adopt the best practices and the processes of the industry. And so Do you get what I'm
Yes.
asking? Yeah.
Yeah, so I get exactly what you're saying, because part of the challenge is when you want to standardize, say, on a case management system, right? That is not just about the technology that you're modernizing, moving to some case management. The business has to be a partner and has to be at the table. And that's where, when you talked about the processes weren't modernized, this is where, when you're trying to automate, you're trying to, technology is the enabler. But unless the business has a seat at the table for one, and they want to be there, they have to be a part of the solution. That's the only way that you're going to improve and get better outcomes on the end. And I've done this in practice, exactly that, where I've had challenges with the business on being that good partner. And I've also had good business partners where we were able to move very quickly, move to, say, a case management system where you automated and where you had better results for the services you were providing.
You see customization rampant throughout the federal government, Mrs. Kent? I'm seeing a head nod.
Yeah.
Especially as we're talking about modernization on those older systems, absolutely.
And that's expensive, outrageously expensive. Thank you. I yield back. My time is long expired.
Okay, and we